this story. I know we are. I mean, I know it's easy to say, you people in the crowd, how could you try to turn away someone from Jesus? I know that that's never happened to you. Maybe it was different back then for us. I mean, I know that just because you see people who are different from you, that you would never walk away from them. I guess we were different. I know that, when you hear people who sort of make a fuss or who have a bad reputation, the outcasts, that you would never turn them away. That you would go up to them and show them the love of Jesus. I know you'd do that. I guess it was different then. I guess we were just different people. But if you think about it, if you think about what it was like for us, I mean, we were up there in Galilee with Jesus, walking all the way to Jerusalem for the Passover. I mean, we did it all the time. We would make this pilgrimage, and we pilgrims were making our annual pilgrimage, but that particular year, it was about, 33 years after Jesus was born. It was, right before, the week or so before that time that you call Good Friday, that you call Easter. It was not so long before that we were walking along, as we did every year, we Jews. And we saw this group of men and women who called themselves the disciples of Jesus of Nazareth. And, we had a long walk with them, and we learned a lot. And by the time we got to Jericho, we thought, how great is this? We are with the Messiah. And so when we heard this man, we learned his name, you see, where we're walking through Jericho, and we heard this man yelling, and the people of Jericho told us, the pilgrims passing through town, that's Timaeus' son. He's been sitting there for years. He just keeps making a ruckus. He's begging. He's blind. He can't help it, of course, but sometimes he's kind of a nuisance. He's kind of a bother. And so he was to us too. I mean, Jesus was on his way to Passover. We with him. We still had 15 miles to go from Jericho to Jerusalem. It's walking up this big steep hill. It's a long walk. We don't have time to talk to everybody begging along the road. We have work to do. We're on our way to Passover with Jesus. So you can understand, right, that we didn't want to stop. And so when the man is yelling, "Son of David, have mercy on me," you can understand that we would say, "Quiet. Don't bother Jesus." I mean, I know you would never do that. As we look back on it, even we know we weren't supposed to do it. We get it now. But then it seemed like the right thing to do. We were protecting Jesus. We were protecting Jesus from the riffraff. I know you wouldn't do that. But if you think about it, how we responded, can you really criticize us for that? I mean, we should get some credit for what happens next, right? When Jesus hears the man's voice over the crowd, and Jesus says, he stops, kind of like one of those deals where, you see it where people are walking along and the front one stops and everybody stops like that, kind of like that. And Jesus says, "Call him." What? You want us to call him? So we did. So we make this pathway and we call to the man, "Bartimaeus, he's calling you. Come on over." And Bartimaeus gets up and he throws this cloak full of money that, people would throw the money in his cloak sitting along the roadside. He throws the cloak on the ground and the money goes spilling all over the dusty road. And he gets up, and we help him. We form this pathway. We form this path so the man can make the short journey from where he was to Jesus. And you know what? When we all got together and started making that trip, we realized this man wasn't a whole lot different than the rest of us. Yeah, he was a little different. No, he wasn't always polite and couth and all that stuff. But he just wanted to see Jesus. I hope we did the right thing showing him the way. I mean, all we really needed to ask him, what do you want Jesus to do for you? I heard his voice. I heard his voice above the crowd. I'd been walking with my disciples, and I'd been walking with this crowd of people that just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was a noisy crowd. But there was this man, this blind man, who kept yelling, "Son of David, have mercy on me." And the louder the crowd got, the louder his voice got, until finally I heard it. I let him go an extra couple times. I wanted to know, did he really want mercy? What did he really want? And then finally, I stopped, and everybody stopped behind me. And I saw the man sitting over there, Bartimaeus, we learned was his name. And I said to my disciples, and eventually the word got through the crowd, "Call him! Call him!" I like to call people. I like to call people who want to be called. You know, in fact, I call everybody, right? I call each of you. Sometimes you're sitting by the road and you'd just as soon not be bothered. I know that. It's all right. I'm going to keep calling. And when you call like Bartimaeus loud enough, well, someday I'm going to say, call him. Call him. So Bartimaeus, he takes this cloak that is on the ground. He has it over his lap, and, he's blind, but he knows that there's money in this cloak, and he stands up, and the coins scatter all over, and he finds the pathway, and he runs up to me. I thought that took some courage. I thought that was a good sign that he had the courage, even though he didn't know exactly where he was going, to run to me. Sometimes people, maybe this is you, want to know exactly where they're going before they go. Too afraid of the dark. Too afraid of the unknown. But Bartimaeus, he didn't know where he was going, other than some people, the crowd, were helping him get to see Jesus. I hope the church gets that message. I hope my church gets that message. That its job is to help people get to Jesus. I don't know how much more simple I could have made it. I tell people, you're saved by faith. Your faith makes you well. Receive my grace. And people keep making all these rules. They keep telling people, shush, be quiet. when all I want him to do is invite Bartimaeus to come and see Jesus. So he comes to me, right? He comes to me, and I look him in his eyes that are blind, and I don't know what he's expecting. You know, maybe he heard of that time that I spit on my hands and I rubbed and somebody could hear, or I spit on my hands and somebody could see, or the lame walk, or the woman and her daughter, she has faith, and she says, you know, even the dogs get the crumbs, you know, all of that story, right? So maybe he had heard all of that and he thought I was going to touch him or do something. And instead I said to him, what do you want? Now maybe you think that's an odd question. Maybe you think me standing there with a blind man in front of me, it ought to be pretty obvious what he wants, right? Well, maybe not. I mean, maybe he just wanted more money. Maybe he thought I could tell the crowd to give him lots of money. Maybe he wanted a better spot to do this begging from. Maybe he just wanted to hear that his sins were forgiven. You know, it's so easy when you hear these stories of what I did to think that this is all about physical healing. You know, that's not the point. There were thousands of people I didn't heal, because that's not the point. Not that kind of healing. Do you know what really was healed in Bartimaeus? Do you know what his faith really did? He said, Jesus, whatever you have for me, wherever you're going to lead me, I'm going to go. His faith healed him. It helped him to get up off of the ground and to run to me. And so I said to him, Bartimaeus, your faith has healed you. Because that's what faith does. Saved by faith alone, right? But he said no, he wasn't going to go. And he followed me. He followed me through the week that you call Holy Week. I wonder if he knew what he was getting into when he said he was willing to follow me. I wonder if he knew what he really wanted me to do for him. It was a beastly hot day. It was a dusty road, and what little wind there was just blew more dust in my face. I couldn't see the dust, I could feel the dust. Despite my having a famous father, Timaeus, I was born blind and couldn't find any work. So I spent my life sitting on the roadside. You know, I get it, I know. I'm an outcast of society. I'm the one living on the margins. I'm the one that parents say, stop staring, and God forbid, don't talk to the man. I get it, I know that. But today was different. Today, I heard the rumblings as the pilgrims were making their way through Jericho to get to Jerusalem, which happened every year, and that's why I was sitting there, because I knew this was day. Lots of people would go through, and God commands the Jews to care for the poor, and here I was poor, and so this was a good place to be. It was a good week for me. But then I heard Jesus was coming. And you know what they say about Jesus, right? You know what the prophets say, Isaiah and all of those, that this Messiah was the son of David, that he was going to be the king. Turns out to be a different king than I thought. Turns out to be a different king than lots of people thought, than everybody thought. But he was the king, and so I yelled out, "Son of David, have mercy on me." But he couldn't hear me over all the people. So I yelled louder and louder until finally the whole crowd stops. And I hear Jesus yelling, "Call him." And so these people come over to me and they say, "He's calling you, Bartimaeus. Take courage. Be strong. Cheer up. Your life is about to be changed." And so I just stood up and I threw my cloak on the ground and the money went scattering all over, but I didn't care because getting to Jesus is more important to me than silver or gold. All I wanted to do was to see Jesus, even though I was blind. I didn't know how I would see Jesus, but I wanted to be near Jesus. And the crowd helped me get to see Jesus. And so there I am, standing next to Jesus. And he says to me, "What do you want me to do for you?" That gave me a little pause. Why would he ask me that? What did he know that I didn't know? As I stood there, I had to think about, what did I really want? What did I have the courage to ask for? I mean, if I ask that I can see, the only person who can do that is God, right? I mean, no human being can make a blind man see. So if I say I want to see, I'm going to be saying that this man is God. And who knows what the people will do to me then? What if I'm wrong? And then I had to think about, well, suppose I do see. Now I can't go sit at the roadside and beg anymore. I'm not going to have a job. How am I going to make any money? Where am I going to find a home? Maybe my father will take me in, but if I follow Jesus now and I'm not a devout Jew, what's going to happen to me? I didn't know what was all going to happen to me, my family, all these uncertainties. What did I want Jesus to do for me? And what if he said, "Yes, you can see"? What was I going to do about it? I mean, wouldn't I owe Jesus some debt of gratitude? And how would I ever pay that debt? How could I ever be thankful enough? How could I say thanks? But then, I thought, you know what? I yelled, and I ran, and I threw my cloak aside so that I could see Jesus. So I said to him, "I want to see." And Jesus said, "Your faith has made you well." And I could see. And the first thing I saw in my life was the face of Jesus. A few days later, well, you see, I could have gone back, right? I could have gone home. He told me I could go. He didn't say I had to follow him, but how could I not? And following Jesus, I learned, comes with a cost. Mostly for Jesus. But I gave up everything I had, everything I depended on, so I could go with Jesus. And do you know what I saw? I saw this crowd that was saying Hosanna on Sunday. On Friday, they were saying crucify him. And then I saw the tomb. And then I saw the stone rolled away. And then I saw Jesus alive. And that's what I wanted Jesus to do for me. What do you want Jesus to do for you? Amen.